right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of Saber Sims DFS office hours. Today is Monday, November 18th of 2024. And looking ahead here, we have some NBA action on this Monday. We have some Monday Night Football. I believe we have some NHL as well. So it should be an action-packed Monday here. For those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Andrew. I'm one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS-related questions. Get your questions in one of three ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there is a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim team. So can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and we do this show on Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have our build review show that we do twice a week on Mondays and Fridays. That one will be going live here in a little less than an hour. We have plenty of people signed up today for our Monday show, so should be a good one. But like I mentioned, it is Monday, so we do have to announce the winners for our weekly max challenge here. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it is our mini max promotion that we do during the NFL season, giving away awesome prizes each and every week, with the grand prize being 2 tickets to the Super Bowl at the end of the year here. So we are, I believe, 11 weeks in now and going strong here. So we got to announce our weekly winners. So first, we got to announce our top finisher for the week, and then we have to award free entries to somebody for next week's contest. So our top finisher of the week was none other than SportsFan14 with a 113th place finish, 215.4 points in the mini-max. That is good for a custom SaberSim hoodie and an entry into our end of the season 25K big game free roll. Congratulations. And then we will grab all the people who participated this week. Let me do that now. 255 people. Going to drop them into our wheel of names here. Entries 255 looks good. Going to hit shuffle a couple of times, and we are going to spin to see who wins entry into next week's mini max. So drum roll. Our winner is Ron King 198. Congratulations. Congratulations to both winners this week. Our support team will reach out to you and let you know how to claim your prizes. We got Ron King 198 here. Let me make sure that's right. It is. Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. Congratulations. Again, guys, thank you to everybody who continues to participate in that challenge each and every week. We appreciate you. And we are looking forward to giving away 2 tickets to the Super Bowl at the end of the year here. So that's going to be super fun. All right. Let me get SaberSim pulled up here, and we will jump into questions that came in the Discord first, and then we will jump over to the live YouTube chat. So let's get SaberSim up. Looks like we're good here. And let's get, I believe we only had one question. We had a couple build review requests. Okay, looks like we have 2 questions here. So one from Sammy. We'll start there. I did ask Raf to send in more details to support because seem support related. Got one from Purdy. Got one from Deuce. And they have one from Adam here in the chat. All right, cool. Ready, rock and roll. We'll just work our way from the top down. No worries here. Adam said, is there a way to run a portfolio of lineups with multiple geomeans, multiple contests with different number of entrants should result in different geomeans? I understand your question, and there is not a way to do this. So basically what they're asking is like, hey, can I set up a filter that is contest entrant specific? So this sounds like a pretty cool, iteration, future enhancement that we can make to the app. So basically what it would be is like some type of filter that does the geomean calculation and looks at the number of entries in the contest that it's filling, solves the geomean, and applies that specific geomean to that contest when in autofill, for instance, right? So right now you can't do that. You would have to fill the lineups individually, but I could definitely see how this would be useful. So why don't I take this down as a feature request and let our team know about it, because I think it'd be pretty cool. So feature request. I'm going to call it dynamic contest entries. Maybe geomean filter. That sounds about right. I'll at least know how to explain that. All right, good question there. Next question for NBA, when trying to go 2x over the field, how does that apply to a game or a team since there's no ownership by neither team nor game? If interested in doing so, is there some basic number to go by on 20 or 150 max? So it sounds like when he says, no ownership, we're referring to low owned players, right? So for instance, say that, some guy is like 1% owned. Well, if you get 2x to 3x the field, right, you're still only getting like 2%, 3%, right? That's like not really big. I'll tell you something that I always think about, when Andy did that interview with Spencer, who is Elusive Smoke, for the Millie Maker. And he was like, you don't have to have 100% of a 1% owned player. You could have 10% of that player and have plenty of entries, that are going to separate you from the field, right? So I think about that like kind of a lot when it comes to like low owned players. So ultimately, you do want to, you probably do want to have more than 2x to 3x the field because their ownership is so low to start with. But you don't want to have, 50% of your portfolio dependent on like one player's outcome, who is not so likely to do that considering their ownership, right? The field is not dumb. It's going to play players who have a better chance of reaching their outcomes more, right? So I don't know, 10% sounds good. There's not like a right answer here, but that's just something I think about. And, I like to listen to players who are better than me. And that's something that I heard. So I'm going to pass that along. All right, next question. Should I be changing min uniques when late swapping? Good question. I think it's fine to still use them. I will just leave them at their pre-build value, even if that means resetting it. Like yesterday's like a pretty good example. You go back to yesterday for like NBA, right? So yesterday, FanDuel specifically, because their slate was a little bit different. So DraftKings slate started at 3 p.m. my time, which is 6 Eastern. And then FanDuel started at 2 p.m. my time, which is 5 Eastern. So like, this is a good example, right? It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 game slate. Well, only one game started at lock and all the other games are still unlocked, right? And just based on the slate context, I ended up not having very many shares of the players, from the first game. I wasn't heavily exposed to Miami. I wasn't heavily exposed to Indiana, right? So it's like, why shouldn't I continue to use min uniques, right? I want to diversify. A lot of my lineups are untouched. I still want to get that diversification, right? And in my experience, if you just leave the min uniques at where they are, and you use the same swap build over and over and over, right? If you use that same build again and again and again, you should not have any issues getting to the min uniques, because every time you're building, it's accounting for that and it's just kind of building on itself, right? So I haven't had an issue using the same min uniques throughout an entire slate. So I would recommend still using them. All right, next question. I remember when using the simulator, a person could select cash as an option. I only see GPP, multiplier, satellite. How do I access that? So if you're trying to build cash lineups, what I would do is just go to the gear icon, switch your build mode from sim to optimizer. When you do this, what we are going to do is we are going to build cash lineups. We're going to build lineups that are the highest projected scoring lineup first, and then the mathematically second highest projected score lineup, third, fourth, etc. Right? When you're in sim mode, we're not doing that. So this is our cash mode now. This is a change we made to more closely mimic traditional optimizers to where people are a little bit more familiar with it, making the transition over to SaberSim. All right. Ralph said, yeah, I sent a report to support, but no response yet. Been a couple days. Figured I'd try here to see if it's happening to you. So the biggest thing for me, right, is that I'm not setting minimax exposures in late swap. So I think that's like a big consideration. I'm happy to do a late swap demo. I have some entries for the Sunday to Monday NFL slate. So we could do that. So that'll be like our slate demo for the day. So let me circle back on that one. And then let me get your question in here. That way we could just talk about it and do the late swap. But our team who investigates the reports don't work on the weekends. So that's why, like, if you send it in on like Friday, we will typically investigate and get back to you like early next week. So usually not over the weekend. All right. Let's get that question in here. I'm going to hit Jared's first, and then we'll circle back to Ralph. All right. Jared said, can you help me further understand the max, large slate, medium, large slate, etc. numbers when building lineups? My lineup numbers don't seem to line up with these, if that makes sense. Okay, good question. So let's just go to today. And I don't care if we use FanDuel NBA, no problem. So let's build some lineups. We'll just build 500. Kick this off. All right. So the numbers you're referring to are aggregate metrics, and they're looking at Saber score, right? So here, mine say ROI by default. That's because I am on the Ultimate subscription. So I have max, medium, min, destination ROI, right? If you're on starter, what yours are going to say typically is max large slate, median large slate, which is like what you were referring to, right? So I'm gonna change all these like this. So this is probably exactly what you're seeing, right? So what these numbers are describing are the Saber scores in the set of lineups that you're viewing, right? So the Saber scores are in-house lineup grading metric. It is something that you can view in the sorting metrics, and you can even hover over one, click on the eye icon. You can see the variables that that make up the Saber score. So basically, we here at SaberSim do not think that projected score is a good sorting metric for tournaments, because the payout structures are so top heavy, and we don't believe you should be worrying about average outcomes in a contest format where you need to be in the top 1%, the top 0.1%, the top 0.01% to win a contest. And the payout structures are so heavily scaled toward the top, right? At least like 25, 30% usually going to first. So what we did is we created a lineup grading metric that we think is superior, right? So it has a projected score component, right? So we're still accounting for projected score. We think it matters. We just don't think it's the sole factor that should be accounted for. We have lineup upside, the lineup's 95th percentile, which would be the lineup's top 5% outcome. So basically, lineup gets built. We go back into the sim. We look at this group of players. We go and find them for every slate simulation. And we say, hey, how did this group of players do across all the sims that we pulled? And then what we get is we get effectively a lineup distribution. Like, hey, these players as a whole scored, this many points 1% of the time, this many points 2% of the time, et cetera, right? So a 95th percentile is saying like, hey, this lineup scored, I don't know, 380 points 5% of the time in the sims, right? So lineup upside, and then a negative weight on average adjusted ownership, right? So this is basically taxing lineups that have high ownership and where the player's range of outcomes do not warrant that type of ownership. So that's effectively what adjusted ownership is. So we've taken projected score, we've added some extra variables that we think are important. That is what Saber score is, right? Now, the max large slate is your maximum Saber score, right? It mimics the top lineup here. We see 103.37. We see 103.37. Minimum is going to be the last lineup. Median is going to be the number in the middle, right? So that's what these represent. Now, if these don't mean anything to you, you don't have to use them, right? You can change them. One aggregate metric that I recommend people use just from doing the build review shows every single week is average projection. Come in here, if you don't want these, find X amount, just click the gear icon. One other note, if you delete all the variables, so here I'm creating an average projection aggregate metric. Now, if you're on Ultimate, I would also recommend doing an average ROI one. I think that's a good one to have as well. And what I like to do with these is I like to start adjusting my min uniques, tinkering with my build, and seeing how my adjustments from this point affect these metrics. And if I'm affecting them to the point where like, hey, my average projection is 336. Well, when I set, my 50% minimum exposure to Fred VanVleet, my average projection dropped to 326. Maybe I should rethink that, right? Maybe I should lower it. Maybe I should reconsider it altogether. It's having a huge impact on the average projection of my lineup set, right? So that's what I'm doing with the aggregate metrics. But that should hopefully answer your initial question. All right. Next question. This one was from Ralph. I've been struggling lately to get late swap to work the way I want when I try to use the create build function so that I can set some min max before the build kicks off. I'm unable to ever build swaps, but if I want to set them in my normal build before I kick off the late swap, it won't allow me to use build X. I can only use default, which defeats the purpose of what I want to do. Is this an error on my side, or is there something wrong with the late swap functionality? I realize this is more of a support question, but I figured seeing it live on office hours might be more beneficial. Thanks. So first thing I want to say, right, is that, late swap is still in beta for a reason. It could very well be that there is a bug with minimax exposures and generating your late swap, right? The truth is I've never tried, so I don't know. But what we can do is go to beta and let me pull up my build that I was saying that I have a late swap for. So let me get over there. DK is fine. Okay. 1 second. Working my way over to beta. Almost there. Okay, hold on. All right, I think we're good here. All right, let's pull this up. All right, so I'm on beta now. This is my SaberStream account that I used to build my lineups. So I have some entries, right, for the primetime slates here. Now, what Ralph was saying is like, hey, if I set some minimax exposures in my build and then try to kick off the build using swap 136, now I'm having some trouble. How else can I go about it, right? Let's just try a late swap by using the create build button here. So give me 1 second. Oops. I clicked the wrong button. So I accidentally kicked off the build. So it's just going to start building them, which wasn't what I was trying to do, but It's okay. So basically I was in my late swap, right? And then instead of clicking create build, I just clicked generate. And it obviously is building lineups, right? We could try here to do something. We'll try and set some minimax exposures and then rebuild lineups. You know, that's one way to do it. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so right now we're fine. Now I want to go to minimax exposures. And let's say I want to set some, right? So like I want to come in here and like I want to get, you know, I don't know, let's do something easier. Okay, maybe like defense would make the most sense. So instead of like the Cowboys being higher exposed, maybe I want to get to the Texans. So I want to set them to like 20%. And then maybe I want to set the Cowboys to, I don't know, just a number less than I have, right? So maybe like 22%. So then now if I try this, I'm going to click rebuild again and build. So I'm interested to see if this fails, but I'll read Raf's comments in the meantime. He says, so I can't use the gray button. When I do, it sometimes doesn't work at all. Other times it'll begin or open up the build window. I've tried using inputs post kickoff, but that doesn't seem to ever rebuild the swaps. It only inputs from the pool it just created. Okay, well, let's see if this works, right? We did a couple here. I would recommend, yeah, if I were to do this again without messing it up, I would probably do the gray option. So let's see. So my minimum exposure looks like it was met to the Texans. And then my maximum to the Cowboys looks like it was met as well. So Ralph said, my issue is that I'm not ever even allowed to click rebuild. It just doesn't show up as a clickable option. Okay, I've seen an issue like this before. So what I would do, or what I would try, is go to the contest tab, right? In the contest tab, check all these lineups, and then uncheck them and then recheck them, right? You want to make sure that all of them are selected. So right now, when I just did this, right, when I opened this up, all the lineups were unchecked. That is a bug that the team is aware of, that can cause the rebuild lineups button or the build lineups button to be grayed out and not clickable. Or when you click it, it doesn't do anything, right? But I'm almost positive it's like a grayed out thing. Come to the contest tab, unselect all the contests, reselect all the contests, and then kick off a late swap from here. And then go back to late swap and then, or go back to the green late swap button and try and send it again. But I'm almost positive. I'm almost positive that should work. All right. Ralph said, noted. Thank you. I'll try that out tonight sometime. Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right. Let me get out of here. All right. Checking if any more questions are rolling in here. But I think that troubleshooting step should be super helpful for Raf. So hopefully that works out. All right. Got one more in the office hours channel in Discord. So let's get that in the queue. And this one is from Prop Killer. And question says, and no worries, Ralph, happy to help you out. All right. What's the easiest way in NFL Showdown to make sure if a defense is in the lineup to also have a running back from the same team in that lineup? Okay, so this is also another good beta question. Looks like we're still in beta. But actually, this is basically the only way to solve this problem. So we previously, if you're at least in app.sabersim, you don't have this available because this is a new feature that we're testing out, right? We've heard a lot of people ask about, hey, I want to be able to set positional rules, like if captain, wide receiver, then same team quarterback, or like all those type of things, right? So we are testing this out right now. And if you're on Ultimate, which I see Prop Killer is, you get access to this feature. So in Showdown, you're now going to have the ability to do positional rules. So if you're in beta, you can come in here and you could say, if at least one, I would uncheck group by. And then the question was, if a defense. So the only thing I don't know here is there's captain, there's flex, but it doesn't look like you can select both. So you might have to write the rule twice. But let's just say flex, for instance, right? So if at least one flex defense, then use at least two on the same, or I'm sorry, you said one on the same team. And then we will say running back, right? So I think an enhancement of this would be nice. That would be nice is like an all feature, like captain, flex, all, or both, or even make both clickable to both be applied at the same time. So that would be one thing. But effectively, this is how you would want to do it. Let me remove the question so you can see the bottom side. So that's how I would do it here. Now, if you're on app.sabersim.com, you basically have to do the same, but you have to do a group manual rule. So go to group manual, and then you change use to if, and then you say if at least one. And then when I'm in this box, I could click edit players. I would go and grab the team's defenses. So go like to Houston, for example, go grab Mixon, Ogunbowale, Pierce. You can add JJ Taylor if you want. And then I would also add those 4 players for the flex as well. That way there's effectively 8 players in this primary. And then say, oh no, it was defense, right? So I would put these players in the secondary, and then I would put the team defense, captain flex, in the primary, right? So just kind of flip this, but that's how you would do it in app.sabersim.com right now until at least that feature goes live. So maybe we'll get that double feature before it gets released officially. Not 100% sure, but those are at least 2 ways to do it in the meantime. Ralph said he had to write 2 rules to fulfill it. Yeah, I feel you. All right, good stuff there. We are all caught up with questions now, but either way, it looks like Prop Killer said group manual rule for now. Got it. Thanks. Yep. Happy to help out. So all set now. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back here in about 30 minutes for our build review show. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.